Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised. Everyone makes mistakes, but some people are dumb enough to make them on camera. A foolhardy snake charmer kisses his cobra, and it's love at first bite. A forgetful groundskeeper neglects to turn off the timer, causing his own rain delay. When this bumbling dad decides to deep fry the family turkey, his whole house is gobbled up by flames. A shark fisherman doesn't bother to hook himself to his boat. Now he's the one being reeled in. Plus, this drunk driver claims to have 20 years of education.
I graduated 10th grade twice.
But he can't outsmart this officer. If it's off the wall and it's on tape, then it's all here. It's totally outrageous behavior.
On Thanksgiving Day, Ronald Walker wants to try something new. Deep frying the family turkey.
They're delicious. Have you ever eaten one? They're delicious.
But Ronald's wife thinks it's a bad idea.
I probably would eat it, but I don't want him to cook it.
Undaunted, Ronald fires up the burner. But this genius decides to ignore the instructions and sets up the deep fryer on his wooden porch.
I don't think you read the directions.
And now he's cooking more than the turkey. The whole house is in flames. Thankfully, the fire department arrives and gets everyone out safely. Ronald would be in the doghouse if it hadn't burned up.
I felt like a fool.
Today, there's a new house on the property, but the charred remains of the fryer serve as a reminder of the Turkey Day debacle. So Ronald won't be trying this stunt again, right? Wrong. But this year, he's invited a special guest, Fire Captain Anthony Crowder.
Have you ever eaten any of this? It's delicious, but...
And thankfully this time, everything goes according to plan. But he'll never forget the day he stupidly nagged his wife into trying something new.
You don't never want to try nothing different. So he tried it, and it was different.
This snake charmer foolishly thinks that because he just fed a mouse to his snake for lunch, he won't be hungry for more. But 30 minutes later, his snake is so ravenous that he tries to take a bite out of his handler. Thankfully, the fangs only catch the fabric of the man's trousers, leaving his manhood intact. Eventually, when the reptile lets go, this animal lover decides to get tough. He wants the snake to know he's a man, not a mouse. This fellow has just delivered a court summons.
You'd find this person and just issue him the paper.
But what if this person is a crazy lady with a baseball bat?
Well, I kind of sort of feared it for my life and jumped in a car.
She gets in a few good whacks before heading back inside. Now everything is fine, except for one thing. That's not his car. Seems the process server hid in the first available vehicle.
So I wouldn't get beat on with a baseball bat.
With the coast clear, he hustles over to his truck. And here comes trouble, and she's ready for another turn at bat. But the coward gives up and heads for home.
I was lucky.
The same can't be said for this guy. He learned the hard way not to leave his car unlocked. As for the woman, her baseball career is over. But when it comes to stupidity, she's in a league of her own. At a beginner's self-defense class, the master demonstrates a perfectly placed kick to the chest. Almost. Apparently, this dim-witted warrior forgot the solar plexus is above the waist. And he gave his student a low blow. The elegance and grace of the martial arts have often been compared to the ballet. And it looks like this guy just performed the Nutcracker. Successful entrepreneur Daryl McKee makes his living taking tourists up in his hot air balloon. But it's the going down that causes Daryl problems. As a matter of fact, Daryl is the king of crash landing.
When we meet our passengers in the morning, they ask if there's been any dangerous flights or anything. And I usually respond, well, I do have a few, but you don't want to hear them now.
Here, Daryl is seen making an unexpected passenger drop-off in the middle of Sydney Harbour.
There were 9 people who were up to their knees in water with the basket tipping over and, in our view, in danger of perhaps drowning.
But since no one did drown, Daryl gets a move on because he's got plenty more crash landings scheduled for today. Daryl says, why sit down on a nice safe street when you can dodge high voltage power lines and land in someone's backyard? Or in a playground packed with school children? Or in a remote lagoon? But after hundreds of successful crash landings, Daryl says his safety record is second to none.
12 years and around 1,200 hours of flying, I haven't as much as put a scratch on anybody yet.
Yet being the operative word. Daryl promises everyone a thrilling ride. Too bad he doesn't see much repeat business.
Coming up, these pea-brained paragliders miss the mark and get put out to pasture. And after an absent-minded groundskeeper forgets to shut off the sprinklers, this ballpark becomes mud-filled. Plus, a small-time TV newsman does a report on fireworks safety. Now his career is red hot. And later, in this performance of Swan Lake, the Swans finally fight back. When totally outrageous behavior continues.
Late-night robbery is in progress at this convenience store. But when the cops arrive, they find all the doors and windows locked. So where's the crook? Here's a telltale clue. A foot sticking through the bottom of a narrow ventilation duct.
When I heard that, it was I was just wondering who would be dumb enough to do it.
Evidently, this man, who's still stuck after trying to squeeze his 42-inch waist into this 24-inch shaft. Firemen work to free the trespasser as the amused policemen look on. But the man won't budge. Hours later, the sleazeball is finally freed.
He was greased up like a hog.
But it's out of the frying pan and into the fire. Unable to slip away, the half-baked burglar is questioned by police, even though he's already been grilled.
Here's the pitch.
It's the bottom of the 6th at Mile High Stadium, and the Colorado Zephyrs are losing 3-1 to the visiting Omaha Royals. And this batter is hoping for an end to his dry spell. Suddenly, his prayers are answered as the sprinklers turn on, soaking the players and bringing the game to a halt. Luckily, groundskeeper Steve Whiteman has the keys to the timer in his pocket. Unluckily, this is his day off, and he's nowhere to be found. How did this happen?
I had neglected to cancel out the 9 p.m. start time on the controller. So 9 o'clock at night rolled around and the number 1 valve came on.
Finally, after a 30-minute delay, Steve comes to the rescue. And the rejuvenated Zephyrs bounce back to beat the Royals. So, was Steve's forgetfulness really a mistake? Or was it all part of the Zephyrs' game plan?
I'm sure they were probably looking for anything that would have given them an edge. And the ground crew came through that night.
And for that, this forgetful groundskeeper deserves to be showered with praise.
Stand right over there.
A drunk driver named Davey has just been pulled over by a police officer on the outskirts of town.
You been drinking? Well, it's kind of obvious.
No. Yeah, you're right.
Wondering if Davey is as dumb as he looks, the cop asks him some tough questions.
You know, what's your level of education? I got 20 years of education. I graduated 10th grade twice.
You graduated 10th grade twice?
Yeah.
And so you got 20 years of education?
Yeah.
Well, do you know your ABCs?
Sort of.
Sort of?
Let's see what he remembers from the 10th grade.
H-I-J-K-L-M-O-P.
Apparently, he never learned the letter N. Finally, the officer's ready to haul this hillbilly down to the station.
All right.
But first, Davey needs to make a pit stop.
Hey, I'm gonna go there. and like drain the vein.
Hold on a second, right here.
Well, it'd be better than doing it in your car.
Well,
Since he couldn't get through the alphabet, Davy is destined for a night in the drunk tank.
LMOP.
Too bad for him. This officer knows the letter of the law. When the breeze dies down, these paragliders should know to pack it in. But this woman wants to make the most of her day in the country. With no wind to lift her, she steered off course and right into a herd of grazing cows. Her chute gets caught on a bull's horn. Now, instead of soaring through the skies, she's being dragged along the ground. She's okay, but thanks to this foolish decision, the parachuter was branded with the mark of stupid behavior. While conducting a routine traffic stop in Albert Park, Australia, police come across a driver whose car has overheated. As the cops try to extinguish the engine fire, the motorist lends a helping hand.
Stand back from the car.
When police finally open the hood, they are shocked by what they find inside. A pup tent, a fire extinguisher, a propane canister, and a bottle of motor oil. So this genius put the camping gear in the trunk and the propane canister under the hood.
It's disgraceful how anybody could store rubber materials and flammable materials and gas bottles in the engine bay. It's just beyond belief.
It seems this driver from down under doesn't have a lot upstairs. Newsman Marty Holtman is trying to film a television report about fireworks safety. But after loading up on some explosive props, Marty ignores every rule in the book as he sits next to live fireworks to tape his promo.
More about the fireworks business tomorrow night as we salute a safe and sane 4th in Part 2.
Marty thinks this take was okay, but nothing spectacular. And since he really wants to impress his boss back in the newsroom, he decides to film the scene again, only this time with much more gunpowder. Lights the fuse. This is going to be a good one.
Jeez.
Marty, now retired, would change a few things if he had to do it again.
He'd safety first. I would be back, about 10 or 15 feet away, and I'd probably be wearing goggles.
Marty must have gotten a promotion after this for doing such a bang-up job.
Up next, this cocky muscle man is so busy showing off for the judges, he slips to last place. Plus, this guy's a total sportsman. 1 minute he's deep-sea fishing. Now he's deep-sea diving. And later, a bumbling bungee jumper gets some good-natured ribbing when he forgets to measure the cord. When totally outrageous behavior continues.
Why is this car dented? Because it crashed through the wall of this restaurant. The driver felt it was the least he could do for the grand opening.
I saw a big explosion of the window in the Stir Fry Express.
Alert pizza clerk Jennifer Moody saw it all from next door.
What I thought he did was went to stop, when you park, but accidentally hit the gas. And because I saw him go over the curb, and I was thinking, oh, he better stop before he hits the window.
Jennifer fled the scene, leaving the pizza place unattended.
I don't know exactly how many pizzas they burned away.
But the pizzas didn't get burned as badly as the owner of the Stir Fry Express. Because the dumb driver who brought down this great wall was his dear old dad. During a shark fishing trip off Cape Cod, this ship of fools takes stupid behavior to new depths. As they fill the water with bait, amateur angler Jimmy DeAmbra straps on his fishing pole. And it's not long before he's hooked a big one.
Oh, something's hit. Yeah, take off. Hold on. There we go. Oh, ain't no God. Look at the size of that shark. That's a big
But the shark isn't happy to be caught.
He is one pissed off son of a...
Jimmy, hold on, baby.
So the shark's on the hook's on the rod strapped to Jimmy. And Jimmy's not attached to anything. So the shark drags him straight down. Eventually, Jimmy struggles back to the surface, but collides with the bait and gets covered in fish blood.
Watch the bait.
Or, as the sharks like to call it, gravy. Now, 2 more sharks join in. And Jimmy's caught in the middle of a feeding frenzy. The fishermen pull their pal back onto the boat and are happy to see he's okay.
That shark almost had Italian food for dinner.
When this reckless angler decided not to strap himself in, he almost wound up sleeping with the fishes. A company near Pittsburgh has hired 2 demolition experts to bring down an old smokestack. They set the charges carefully so the tower will fall away from the building, which is a landmark. Make that was a landmark. The factory owner ropes off the damage, although he'd probably prefer to string up the moronic demolition team instead. Because this botched blow-up turned out to be their downfall. These snowmobilers are running the last leg of their race over an unfrozen section of the lake. When it comes to their stupid behavior, that's only skimming the surface. Before the race is over, this show-off decides to take a victory lap, going in the opposite direction.
What happened?
The run-over racer staggers to safety, but the wrong-way driver is nowhere to be seen.
Where's the other guy?
Eventually, he resurfaces to a frosty reception from the crowd. It'll be a cold day in hell before they let him race again. It's a peaceful Sunday afternoon in the park, but suddenly, 2 careless boaters come between a mama bird and her chicks. Big mistake. Mrs. Swan attacks, and these lame brains take an unscheduled dip in the swamp. These boys better watch out, because Mrs. Swan has quite a temper. The chicks are safe, but the next time these guys go canoeing, they'd better be more careful, or they may find themselves up a creek without a paddle. John Goss's Arkansas convenience store is frequented by some of the dumbest criminals ever caught on tape.
It's just almost entertainment to watch how people can be so stupid.
And he has a zero-tolerance policy toward shoplifters.
When I'm 100% sure that they stole something, I shoot out from behind the counter, go right where they're at, and I just tell them right then, take the out of your pocket.
This simple-minded smoker thought she'd help herself to a lighter, free of charge. But incredibly, she doesn't even notice the camera right in front of her.
What else? You need a lighter?
Later, John confronts the clueless woman with the videotape.
And I'm thinking about having you arrested for that lighter the other day. I've got you on tape.
Faced with the evidence, the crook coughs up the cash.
I'm sorry, I'll take it right now.
This camera next to the beer cooler is even more conspicuous.
That is $1.15, and then the 2 in your pocket are $1.30. You don't want to buy them, you just wanted to take them? Oh, okay.
And what drove the dummy to steal 2 beers?
I said, sir, why are you trying to steal that? Because I didn't want to break a 50.
These dim-witted thieves had better think twice before they mess with John again.
It doesn't make me mad anymore. It just makes me want to choke them.
And his advice to would-be shoplifters?
I want to catch you worse than you want 25 cents worth of crackers.
Winning a bodybuilding competition requires strength, poise, and willpower. But this amateur musclehead figures he can make up for that by slathering on more oil. But sadly, he doesn't sweep the judges off their feet. Whoa. Just himself. This guy was too slick for his own good, and his chances of winning just slipped away.
Coming up next, that's one small step for man and one giant leap for outrageous behavior. When totally outrageous behavior continues.
This bungee jumper plans to leap off a 100-foot bridge.
I had set my rig according to my rough measurement. I drop a 100-foot rope.
Too bad he forgot that bungee cords stretch. Incredibly, he's okay. Even though his day did get off to a rocky start.
Was in the bathtub for about a week, picking rocks out of my leg. Sat on the couch for about a month or two after that. Right back in the air, jumping as soon as possible.
But this adrenaline junkie is still hooked on bungee. You'd think he'd have quit after hitting rock bottom.